Hello, this podcast is brought to you by Firehouse Subs and the Firehouse Sub Public Safety Foundation. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Find out more about restaurant ownership at www.firehousesubfranchising.com. Hello, and welcome to the inaugural kickoff of the Talkin Tactics. It's going to be formerly known, it was formerly known as Politics and Tactics. My buddy here, RJ, and I have taken it over. It's going to be Talking Tactics. So this is the first show that we're actually doing for Fire Engineering. We want to thank them for the opportunity to revamp the show and to really start hitting hard with good, strong tactics as well as strategies, fire grounds, things like that, things that the people are starved for. So before we go any further, I just want to introduce everybody that's here. My name is Dave Polikoff. Over here to my right, Robert James, affectionately known as RJ. He's the president of Capital Fire Training. And then to the far right, all the way at the end, Steve Hamilton. Steve has a podcast and a video show, Scenes of Violence, for fire engineering. And who's going to be doing the walk of shame here in a second is going to be Dave McGlenn, because he's late. He's from Jersey. And he's probably out getting a cup of coffee.
Dave McGlenn.
He's going to walk across the back, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave McGlenn.
The Dave McGlenn.
Anyway, so what we really want to dig into is all about this show with FDIC and all the conferences that pop up all around the country. And what people really want to get their hands on right now is tactics and getting back to basics. And what we say with our training company is it's imperative that we know the basics so we can evolve from there. When we arrive on the scene of most structure fires, we are performing the basics: pulling hand lines, forcing doors, search and rescue, all of the throwing ladders, venting roofs. All of that is basics that we learn in firefighting classes, and we can't stray away from that because those core tactics are what save lives. It's what makes the American Fire Service best fire service in the world. So I'm not going to ramble on, but I'm just going to kick it around to you guys. What have you seen? And they've talked a lot about these small conferences that pop up all over the country, and I don't see that as a problem. I see that as because people are starved for learning, want to learn stuff, and FDIC is done once a year. Obviously, it's the pinnacle of training, but people are starved for this training. What do you think, Dave?
I'm not gonna disagree with that. I think one of the things that you just said was just the most important thing is people starve for training. They yearn for good training. So I'll say that. I'm not undermining these small conferences. So let's be clear. Like you're not gonna beat out FDIC. I'm not paid to say that. It's a reality, right? The FDIC is it. However, not everybody's able to come here. Not everybody's able to go to these type of training syndicates. And everybody, for the most part, should want training. So it's important when we stand up these smaller conferences that we're passing on the right information. That's why it's important that they try to pull cadre of instructors from that are FDIC instructors. But if you're going to stand up a training conference, a smaller one, do it for the right reasons, and that's to train the fire service. Because the people that are coming, they're coming because they want to be trained. They want to learn something. They want to develop. They're not coming there just to do selfies and to try to have some kind of fame and sell T-shirts. It's because at the end of the day, we're here to train firefighters. And that's the important thing. That's why people come to training. They spend their money. They take their time away from their family, take leave from work, everything like that, so that they can attend training. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's extremely important that we understand training conferences, whatever you want to call them. They're there to train people. It's great to meet and greet. It's great to network, but learn something. There's nothing worse than when somebody comes back from training, like, what'd you learn? Oh, this is the nicest bar there. Like, what'd you learn? You know what I mean? I can go anywhere and find a bar. So, no, I'm with you.
RJ, expand on it and talk about what we did in Frederick and how we did that from scratch and the success of that program.
Yeah, so I agree with both of you guys and the training aspect of it. One of the biggest things is this job is a dangerous job, and we have to always be ready for what's thrown our way at while we're on a job. The only way we can do that is to train for it, and I think we create a culture in the fire service by putting the importance of training when you sign up. We just recently did our first fire conference in Frederick, Maryland, and it was literally designed to put on training locally. Like Dave said, a lot of people just can't leave their hometowns to come to Indianapolis. Some people still have to provide a fire service to their area, and they can't be gone for a week at a time. So we actually put a conference on in Frederick, Maryland, and it was aimed towards training and aimed towards getting people locally and jurisdictions not far from us to be able to come somewhere close to them and get training. We also were able to bring in instructors from outside to come into Frederick, which isn't normal. That's not a normal thing for Frederick. It's not a normal thing for the people here at FDIC or who are teaching these conferences to be in Frederick, Maryland. So it was also one of those things where we were able to bring something to our hometown to help people on the job get better at the job. Dave knows I say this all the time, but the basics of our job is what keeps us sound and in the job. And everything that we do in the fire service is basic with enhancements. Forcing a door is a basic skill. Throwing a ladder is a basic skill. Stretching a hose line is a basic skill. All of those skills are basic until we have variables that make it challenging, right? Now I have to force a door in a tight hallway. Now I have to stretch a line around cars. I have to throw a ladder in between different obstacles. So when we start adding all of these variables, that simple task, that basic task now becomes such a much more harder task. And the only way we can prepare for that is through good training.
Yeah, I
Steve,
agree.
expand on that.
Well, I think it call it what it is. FDIC is expensive. It's expensive to get here, and there's not a lot that you can really do about the cost of FDIC. And if you look at it from what you're talking about, you can come here and do live fire training in a required structure. You can cut cars. You can do flashover. You can do ladder work. You can go to Mike Champo's class and play with a tower ladder. That costs a great deal of money.
Right.
And a smaller conference, they may be able to pay, instructors come in and lecture and things like that. The resources that it takes to get back to basics and be able to rotate how many students through various door props.
Right.
If you have an acquired structure and you want to teach aspects of truck work in an acquired structure, how long are you going to be able to do that before there's nothing left of the structure? So that's ridiculously expensive. And I believe there is a market, obviously, for education and training for conferences. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening. I think it's a huge challenge to be able to get back to basics at a level like that, as you were talking. FDIC is a great place to come and get some of that knowledge. And yes, it's expensive. And how many people can a department send? My department sent 2 people, and that's taxing to us. Budget wise and staffing wise. So I think it's a challenge. I think people are going to continue to seek ways to get knowledge and training in conferences locally, in whatever way they can. And it's one of the things of the fire service very difficult from a training aspect and training officers and chiefs to try to do.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, FDIC is the gold standard. It is the pinnacle. And even though it's expensive, what it is supposed to do, what it should do is have the members that if you can only send 2 members here, they take that knowledge back to their department and say, these are the things that we need to continue to work on throughout the year. And maybe we'll send a couple of more people next time to FDIC. This is where you are supposed to get your batteries recharged. Yeah. And then you go back to your home department and you train on the things that you learned here. You modify, you look and say, hey, what they showed us might not work for our department, but parts of it will, and we'll modify it and we'll move forward with that. So this is where you get your ideas. This is where you come together with a large community, and then you go back to your home departments and continue to train, because this can't be it. You can't do it for a week. You've got to go back to your department. You've got to
Right. No, so I'm happy you said that. I'm sorry, Steve. So just based off what Steve said, and you just hit it. So I have a thing in my department, so I require them. So we sent 2 people also. Like Steve and I, we behind the scenes worked a lot of angles for what we do to try to get people to come from where we work because it was not something that was normal, right? So we crossed that finish line. We made it happen. Now I had a requirement. I sent 2 guys. I'm like, okay. So each of you is required to come back, and within 30 to 45 days, you're create a summarized version of something you learn that's applicable to us and what we do. And then I expect them to either teach it or, present it to us, the typical instructors, and we will try to pass that on. Preferably, I would love for them to teach the stuff because they learned it. But exactly, if you're coming to FDIC, and you're only able to send one person. I'm looking in the camera and say this because I want the people to hear that. It's like there should be that kind of objective in the attendee that you invested money into. Is like, hey, we invested this into you. You come and you go to whatever training, and when you get back, you teach that stuff to the rest of the organization because we can't afford to send everybody. And then what else that does is it creates that appeal, right? So like I sent you to FDIC, you had a great time, you come back, so I learned all this, blah, 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 right? And now RJ's like, man, I got to get to FDIC. Dave came back and said he had the best time ever. Hey, next year, can I go? And now I send a new person. They're bringing back new perspectives, new ideas. And it's just this constant thing that keeps flowing. So, no, I'm with you. Like, I love that you said that. I was like on the edge of my seat when Steve was saying, because I require my people to do it since I first started attending. If we send people, we require them to come back and bring forth some information that they obtained while they were here. And then same with these training conferences.
Well, you
bring that, grab that stuff.
You used one of the most important words when we talk about all this stuff, and it's investment, right? All of this is an investment,
right?
And it's all about how we invest, right? If a department can invest in sending 2 people, right, and those 2 people can come to FDIC, those people can learn at FDIC, right? That's an investment. If those people go back home and share what they learned at FDIC with their department, that's an investment, right? And I look at myself as a guy who's invested and been supported like this, right? Now I'm back at FDIC teaching, right? I was 18, 19 years old when I came to FDIC for my first time. The Rockville Volunteer Fire Department invested in me to come take classes, right? And I would go back home and share what I learned, learn and expand upon that. And years and years and years later, I'm making my own programs. I'm putting together different training videos and doing different things. I'm giving back to the department. Now I've invested in that. And it's just one of those things when we look at the word investment, it can mean so many things. But if everybody is coming out of this, sharing something and bringing something to the table and bringing something back, the ultimate word here is investment, and a well-used word.
I'm going to let the cat out of the bag, and I'm going to tell you right now. In Frederick County, as Assistant Chief of Volunteer Services, my boss, Shane, my direct supervisor, we budget for 2 volunteers to come to FDIC. We don't advertise it, but what we want is for them to say, hey, would you be willing to X, Y, and Z? We set the money aside to send a couple people. I know the career people do too. Frederick County sent some career people down here to take these classes at FDIC. So my advice to the people that are listening to this, don't be afraid to go to your leadership and say, hey, is there money available in the training budget for us to send a couple people? Go to your union. Talk to the union. Hey, is there money set aside? Go to the volunteer association. Go to the community,
right?
And just say, hey, the VFW, American Legion, those organizations want to help out the fire department.
I also feel like it's an incentive thing too, though. Like if you have like some hard chargers, or you're trying to influence people to become hard chargers, it's like, well, like, hey, the investment in your investment in our organization is going to pay off in that. Here's this incentive. I'm going to give you a full expense paid package to FDIC. You know what I mean? So like through the year, these guys know like, hey, the chief put aside money to send somebody to FDIC. I need to set myself to stand out. Yeah. I want to take more classes, take on more opportunities. So this way, when we pick only that one person, because it's exclusive, so you should stand out, then that one person is like, it's a reward. it's like they yearn for it that much more. Again, the biggest thing is good firefighters want to train. We have to make sure that we continue to train them. We fail when we hide behind any reason we can to not train firefighters. So if these people, we set it in that frame, it's an incentive, right, to come to these, not just here, any type of training. We're getting the best out of our firefighters because they're training more to almost showcase that they want to go to this other training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those that want to do it. There's others that aren't as ate up about it.
But the two personnel from my organization that are here are from the training bureau.
Mm-hmm.
We're sending them first. That's what we budgeted for. And there is the intent to budget for additional persons under the premise that you said as a way of saying, hey, not only coming here is an investment, I'm investing in you as an individual, and I'm gifting you with the responsibility to come here, and it speaks to them, right? How I know that my guys that are here is we're starting day one of classroom sessions, but they've been doing pre-cons.
Mm-hmm.
How I knew day one, pick the right people, bar none. Send a text. How you doing? How's class? How's it going? The response, Chief, I've taken 5 pages of notes. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Right.
If you're doing that, perfect. And they wanted to go to classes together. Like, yeah, we want to take this, we want to take that. When we were discussing ahead of coming here, and I said, that's awesome, except for we. Well, what do you mean? There's 2 of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we want to go to this class together. I said, why both of you go?
Right.
Expand.
Yeah, one of you go here, one of you go there.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Except for my class, they're both going to be in attendance.
I'll let you handle that. There are topics classes that is good for the both of you to go because you're going to hear, one may hear something different than the other. And that's,
I agree. Get the most bang for your buck.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But spread it out.
That's what we used to do in my volley house. We'd send a couple guys here, and we'd all go to different classes, take notes, and then come back. And literally, we wouldn't even leave the convention center. We'd sit in the hallway, these couches here. We'd lay all the notes out and just start sharing stuff back and forth. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's the way to do it, man. It really is.
So, Steve, you mentioned something I want to get into these conferences. A lot of people show up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They'll get into town Tuesday evening, and they just drop into all the 45-minute classes. Yeah. But I've been teaching a workshop for a few years now. I know you've been teaching the workshop for a few years now. So let's talk a little bit about, not necessarily your whole workshop, but the students and the enthusiasm that they had in your class. I know you had a full class. So how did that go for you this year? And what did you see anything different than from previous years with the students that were engaged in there?
So I'm always lucky and humbled by the amount of people that want to come and hear me run my mouth for 4 hours. I mean, I'm sorry for that too, by the way, for those folks. The engagement and the topic, of course, we're talking active shooter and pre-planning. It's a pretty big thing for a while.
But it's a topic that never goes away either. Your topic
correct.
is always fresh,
Right.
Unfortunately,
right.
But it's worth it.
It's the way I like to tell, am I reaching people? That we do the evals, and I think you've seen it before. I create an analytic program with Excel, and I sit there and I take every sheet and I punch in all the data, and then I print out my own statistic to see where I am. And I watch that and adjust my program to that. And I plead with people, please fill out the eval. I take it very seriously. And I use that gauge. And this year, it's the amount of people that come up to you afterwards, ask you more questions, and want to engage with you more. I like debates. I like when someone challenges some of the information, because the information that we're utilizing is a lot of times theoretical in nature, and you're going off of something that is very dynamic in which aggressors change tactics regularly, and what is fresh and current tactically today
Yeah.
is not going to be tomorrow. Like the rescue task force, tourniquets. Tourniquets is a great example. Tourniquets. Everybody needs tourniquets. You need to put, 50 tourniquets on the truck because tourniquets save lives, and they do.
Right.
But not from what we do.
Right.
Because we're getting to the patient well after they would have bled out from the benefit of a tourniquet.
Should have had that on already.
Right. So that's when you remember when we pushed that with the Hartford Consent System threat principles, and it was like hemorrhage. Right. And then we learned the person that is going to be able to do that is the person next to that individual that hasn't been shot, the lay person. So we shifted that mindset.
Yeah.
But with the people in class that engage, they ask questions, they want to expand the conversation. That to me, that's very telling to me as an instructor, and totally this blew me away. I had individuals in my class from Abu Dhabi, and afterwards they came up and said, can we talk to you about possibly coming to Abu Dhabi?
Yes.
And
That's cool.
Right? And I'm like, wow. I was stuttering. What do you say to that?
Right.
That to me, that is the mark that what you are doing has purpose and a meaning. And it's you're teaching people.
Right.
And that's the most important.
And to draft off what you're saying, when RJ and I got our class started yesterday, I shook 100 hands. And I was just floored that people are coming to hear the information that we talk about incident command. And incident command is not going away. It's always enhancing and it's getting better. But the fact that the students this year, I had more students raise their hand and ask questions during my presentation, which I like. I like people to ask.
Engaged, right?
Yeah, and just answering the questions, and they had great questions. I mean, they were asking questions of things that I was getting ready to talk to a couple of slides from now because it just had their mind thinking, and so answered a ton of questions, and even had some challenges asking me, what's the difference between this and this? You said that, but does that mean this? And then great questions, and no, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So they were so engaged with their questions, and then at the end, just coming up and just saying, hey, do you go other places and teach this stuff? It's the hot workshops, or I like to call them hot workshops because ours is hands-on, but the workshops, the 4-hour workshops, are definitely worth the money that you pay,
Right.
because you're getting information.
They're great students too because they want to be there.
Right. They paid to be there,
To be there,
and it's
Those are
my
the best kind of
responsibility
people,
to give them a good class. Now,
Absolutely.
you're teaching
today, hour 45.
and what your class got the training officer, and I think it's appropriate for you to kind of let the people know.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So I'm teaching this afternoon. I'm doing hour 45. Well, do you have what it takes to be a training officer? You guys have all been through the program. I appreciate you guys always supporting me. It's always surreal to me. I tell you this it's always surreal to me to get people who want to listen to what it is that I'm saying. It's an honor, but anyway, the program it's based off of my literal experience. It's my favorite class to teach of everything that I do because all of us here are instructors, and as an instructor, you have a curriculum, you have content, you have a syllabus, everything that you have to follow. Right? This class is literally just all my heart and feelings. It's just like this is what I've experienced in the past 8 years doing training, and I just want people to know. Like, training has been perceived as a stowaway, and the training officer's position was either he was horrible at being on the engine, or she, and we took them off the rig and we stuck them in training, or they pissed somebody off and we stuck them in training. And what happens then, right? So this guy he's going to regress, or she's going to regress. They're going to be pissed off because they don't want to do training. It was a stowaway, right? So then they offer poor tactics. And then what do? We shit out bad firefighters because we're offering bad content. So this is like, no, listen, like, these are the things you're going to do. You're going to deal with unions. You're going to deal with people trying to hide behind the unions. They don't want to train. You're going to deal with volunteers, retention, people not having the time because they work full time, and then they're off from home. They're off from work. They're home with their families. So can't make drill night. How do we figure this stuff out? this is the type of important stuff. Understanding leadership, because quite literally, as a training officer, you are a leader. You touch every member of your organization.
Right.
You know, from soup to nuts, from the fire chief all the way down to the probie. You have some obligation into the development and the consistent maintenance of your organization. So the class is that. It's called "Do You Have What It Takes to Be a Training Officer?" Because it was a question I had to ask myself. I got overwhelmed. I said, "Jesus, can I do this? I really love it. I'm passionate about it." And that was what it became. It's my favorite thing to teach. So I appreciate it, you bringing it up. And it's just always an honor to have it presented here. Like here, this is the fire department instructors conference. And so teaching a training officer class at the instructors conference is a huge honor. It's a huge honor because that's the whole conference. We're teaching instructors how to be instructors. I get to do that. I'm like, wow, this is such an honor.
So got about 3 minutes left, RJ. I want to toss it to you. Obviously, I've known you since the day you came into the fire service in Montgomery County, and then have the company that you built up. The networking that we get when we come out here. Talk a little bit about that and how that crafts the class that you develop based on what you hear from the people and what they're looking for.
Yeah, the network aspect is huge, and in this business of firefighting, our job is to work with other people, and the only way you could do that is to meet people, socialize with people, and learn about those people. When you have a conference like FDIC, you have 33,000 people. there's gonna meet people. You're gonna learn about people, and it creates a camaraderie that I just can't even explain it. I feel weird, I just can't explain it. You have to kind of be in it. But with these events, you make friends from other places, other departments, and you learn about what other people are doing. You learn tactics. I tell people all the time, just because I'm an instructor, that doesn't make me better than you. I'm a student of the game just as much as you are a student of the game as well. We're both students, right? I can show somebody how to force the door. I can show somebody, a tactic, and somebody could turn around and say, well, that's cool. Can I show you something that I've seen in my job or where I worked at, or I ran a call and this worked for me, and I learned something from them too. That's what it's all about. We give, take, we share back and forth. The networking aspect of it is just amazing when you get to meet people. Today was the first time I got to actually meet Steve. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things, you get to meet people, you get to learn people. And in a business where we rely on each other anyway, you gotta know the person next to you.
And with the last minute or so that we have, I'm going to shamelessly plug our new show. It was formerly Politics and Tactics. RJ and I have graciously received it from Frank Ritchie, and it's going to be Talking Tactics.
And Sam, who's not here.
And Sam, but it's going to be Talking Tactics with myself, RJ, and Sam Villani, who wasn't able to come out here. And I'm sure you'll see these jokers on the show as well as Frank and a host of other people. And we're just going to get down to what makes our hands get dirty on the fire ground and how we mitigate emergencies, how when the call comes in, whether you're a career volunteer, you're on the apparatus, you're responding down the road, because we're coming to get the people that rely on us when they call 911 from the worst day of their life.
And with that, Dave, I would like to put out to anybody who is watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, with our new show, Talking Tactics, if you have something that you would like for us to talk about, you have something you want to gauge our opinion on, or you would like us to have an open dialogue on it, shoot it to us, and we will bring it to the group. And it's something that we can have a conversation on publicly, because if it's something that's in your head or something that might be affecting you or your department, it's probably something that could be in somebody else's head or affecting somebody else's department. So feel free to reach out and throw a question at us, and we would definitely like to answer it publicly for everybody. So,
fellas, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everybody listening, enjoy FDIC. Make sure that you are visiting. Take as many classes as you can. Network with as many people as you can. Make long-lasting friendships. Do your job.
All right, y'all.